What's up, man?
Brother Paul, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday evening?
Doing good, doing good. Whenever you call me brother Paul, I feel like a friar.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
should be drinking mead.
it's by design. That's the only way it should be interpreted.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I do
Uh,
that to all the kids, or like when I'm coaching, I'll be like Brother Dan or Brother whatever, and I don't know. I feel like it's just a chill vibe,
oh yeah.
Yeah, drinking mead, hanging out by the fire, telling fables and lore of the lands.
Did you ever see the Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner?
Of course, that's like the only good Robin Hood movie.
Okay, thank you for saying that. I feel incredibly validated. Um, I used to watch that every single time I went over to my grandparents' house. I used to watch it. And you remember at the beginning, there's the part of the movie where they chop the guy's head off.
Yeah.
I always used to close my eyes because I'd be too scared. And my grandma would be like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "It's just Robin Hood."
Dude, yeah. Morgan Freeman's in that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like dude, it's a lineup for sure. No, I grew up. I'm basically born in the wrong decade. I grew up watching all '80s, '90s action or
Hmm.
movies that were probably like C tier movies. Like my dad loved Kevin Costner in Waterworld, which is a lot of people have
Oh,
not seen that movie,
it
or if
had
they
the
have,
biggest budget for a movie at the time, and it just flopped in the
oh, it flops
theaters.
so bad, so bad. But like that's a movie that I'll put on and like make sure like my kids watch someday. You know?
I can't wait. I love it. Like when I do the timestamps for this, it's just gonna say, 2 minutes, Waterworld.
Waterworld. It's intriguing nonetheless. It'll make people just want to listen for that part and either get a chuckle or be completely let down.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, Dude, welcome to the Building Forward podcast, everybody. Um, I had a great conversation with Liv over the weekend. I kind of mentioned to you had a couple cancellations on Friday. We ended up spending like the whole day together on Friday and Saturday, which was awesome. But so we were talking about training and how she was asking me like because I'm training so differently now, like how did I enjoy it and what my favorite part about training was. And my favorite part about training right now is running, which is funny to me because I always said that I would never run. Like running stupid. I'm not going to run unless I'm chased by a lion or whatever it might be. Um, but she asked me, she's like, "Well, why?" And I kind of teared up a little bit because the biggest reason why I'm enjoying running right now is because I don't think I ever believed that I would be able to do it,
Hmm.
especially after the quads.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that a thought before the quads or after the quads?
Mostly after. And I didn't realize until she asked me the question how emotionally fucked up I was from being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like being in a wheelchair, confined to a bed in a room where I had my toilet in the same room as my bed for 6 weeks. And to now be able to go like Saturday, we went on a trail run. We did 10K. Then a day like Sunday was, I did some low impact cardio. And then Monday, I went and ran another 10K on the road. So last week, I ran 20 miles.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, I couldn't run a minute in August without getting fucked up. And so to like look at the arc of the last year and a half and say I went from being in a wheelchair to being able to run 20 miles in a week comfortably and deadlift over 500 for reps and overhead press 225 for reps and all the other strength related stuff that I'm doing. It's like, whoa, this is really really cool. And I'm almost 40. Let's not forget that I'm 38 years old.
Damn, bro.
you know so yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share because when I shared that with a couple people, and their response was like, you know going through the quads would have broken most normal people. And I think that's true. Like the other people that I know who've torn their quads, I really can only think of one who came back and did what he was doing. Do you know Ken? On Instagram, his Instagram handle is Gingercules.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a
Yeah, he's a
freak.
freak.
Deadlifts over 900 pounds
Dude.
after the quad tears.
I didn't even know he tore the quads. I just remember seeing that guy at the Arnold a couple of years ago, and he just reminded me of like a Dragon Ball Z character.
Yeah,
And I think it was like after he was done lifting, dude, his hair was like
yeah,
all like that, and I was like, bro, you literally look like a real life Dragon Ball Z character.
yeah. He's a super nice guy. Very much like a go balls out all the time kind of guy. But yeah, he tore both his quads. He's back to squatting over 800 in sleeves, deadlifting 900. But he's the only one I can point to of people who I know have had the same injury and actually like, came back and did something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know a couple dudes, like one of the dudes that tore his quads 3 months before me still can't walk properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I think, mindset, it was the biggest key for me during the recovery and like how I approached it from a purpose driven standpoint. Um, and I think there's a lot to learn from stories of hardship and going through struggles like we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Well, I think the first thing, dude, is like one, I'm just proud of you
Thank
because
you.
I think the main thing, kind of like you hit the nail on the head, is everybody. It's not that they would like nobody would care, if you just kind of like had the injury and you just either didn't come back to what you're doing. Like most people would be like, damn, like he went through a lot, and like
Yeah.
respectfully, maybe you got more into like bodybuilding or whatever, and you were like, hey, I'm just not gonna do that because my knees, I tore both my freaking quads. People would be like very understanding, right? But
Hmm.
it's like the fact that you one, it just goes to show you really don't have the problem with the ego because
Yeah.
right away when I think about running, it's like, why don't I run? Because I suck at running. You know what I mean? And it's
Hmm.
like, well, if I want to get better at running, I would, but I have to put my ego aside. And I'm not saying like that this is, I'm speaking from like anybody else's perspective because I have put my fair share of running in. And I had to go through that same thought process of
Hmm.
like you, where you look back a year, dude, I remember, I was like massive. I ran like a 12 over like a 12:30 mile. And I used to run, 6-minute miles all the time when I was playing sports and lacrosse and all that kind of stuff. But it was like, I really had to check my ego, because I knew this is going to be like a month's type of deal, like where I
Hmm.
start to see, actual bigger differences. Like you really have to focus on those minute things where I'm sure, dude, like shin splints, calves blowing up as a big guy. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
enough where you're just like, yeah, I think I'm good. Right. Like I think I tried it and I respect that I tried it. But for you to have such a high level powerlifting experience and then tear both quads, go from a wheelchair, and then have the mental fortitude to be like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna start chiseling away little by little to
Hmm.
then get to where you're at now. Like that was crazy. I was looking at that picture of you jogging through the woods, and I mean this in the most loving way.
Yeah.
Like you do not look like a runner. You know what I mean? Like
No?
like your freaking shoulders and you have like such a V taper. You know what I mean? But I know you're out there and you're clocking tons of miles, which is also cool because it's showing. And I'm gonna say not so much now because there's more like hybrid athletes, but dude, you remember there was like a point in time where it was like you either lift or you run.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you're not doing both. So it's cool to see a guy like you doing that, pushing 40, coming back from career ending,
Hmm.
injuries and having fun doing it, and showing like there's always that wall that you meet where once you break through it, it's like you see the other side and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, like I enjoy this now. Yeah, there's a process, but you have those tools and you've gone through all the things you've had to go through to build that mental resilience and fortitude. So yeah, man, like that's definitely an emotional like
Yeah.
moment for you. And I'm sure you're reflecting like whether you like to think about that or not, like that's trauma, like
Yeah.
physically and mentally. So I can relate in my own situations and stuff, but no, dude, I'm proud of you. That's huge. Like, and as somebody who tore their quad, just one, not both. Paul tore literally both his quads. Um, I'm along that same process myself, and it's like there's days where you get a little bit discouraged, where you feel like it's
Hmm.
a step back, but we've been through so much in our lives that we realize, like, hey, all we got to do is just show up for tomorrow,
Yeah.
and eventually we're going to get there. And once we cross or break through that wall, it's like that's why we did it. Like that moment, that even just the emotional outlet, it's like, damn, that's why I'm emotional. It's because I know how much it took to get to this point right now.
Are you dealing with any of that? Like I saw that workout that you did where it was like, deadlift, squat, overhead press. Like you had 3 plates on the bar and some chains. Like you're not lifting light anymore. Are you dealing with any sort of like mental blocks or, you know, any emotional attachment to the ego when you're getting back to lifting?
Yeah, so for me, it's weird because in certain aspects, I feel really, really, really good, like doing 3 plates and some chains for
Mhm.
some box squats where they felt great. Like in my brain, I was like, dude, I could put 500 pounds on here. I didn't, but I felt like I could. The hard part for me is I've always wanted to remain athletic throughout my entire lifting career,
Mhm.
and I've done a relatively good job of that. But I think with this injury, the problems or the issues that I'm facing are with athletic movements. So it's the
Uh,
jumping, it's the lateral work, or it's the eccentric with one foot type of things. So
mhm.
it's like there's this one end that gets super pumped because I'm deadlifting and I'm squatting, and I can do most everyday things fine. Like I can stand up and get into a perfectly comfortable squat on my own now. And I reflect on how much of a recovery process it was. So I'm like, this is awesome. The other end is when I'm working with athletes and I'm trying to show them movements and I just know
Mhm.
like my leg's not there. So it's tough for me because I have to put my ego aside and be like, I know this is part of the process. In my head, I think the kids are like, oh, does this guy know what he's doing? I know that's not true, but that's
Mhm.
how I can interpret it sometimes, where I don't want to be that guy that is ever like the huge overweight coach
Yeah.
and trying to tell these kids how to do things. And granted, mine was an injury. It's going to take time. It was a very most severe injury I've ever had personally, but there's still like that imposter syndrome that I'm trying to work through, and it's like, for me, it's also, okay, well, if that's the problem, now I know I need to double down on X, Y, and Z, and
Mhm.
that will, we'll get better over time. So it's this weird in between spot right now where in the beginning you're like totally shut down, everything's growing at the same time, so you kind
Yep.
of have your expectations. Where now it's like these attributes are here, but these are still really low. So it's like, okay,
Yeah, and I listen, I can speak to that because you're gonna be at that place for a while. Like I'm still at
yeah,
that place in a few different aspects. Um, there's also some imbalances left to right. Even though I tore both of them, like my left hip was fucked up before I tore the quads, so the left hip is like slower to come back. Um, and you do just have to take things slow and you have to check your ego because like since I started squatting again, I'm like I could definitely squat 500 pounds like easily, but I'm not going to
right.
until I do it. Right, I'm going to
Hmm.
take my time building up to it. Um, and that's probably the hardest part for dudes like us because like we want to train hard, we want to go heavy, but it's not the time or the place.
Yeah, and that's like I have a good grasp on that. It's just, yeah, it's definitely in my brain like the, well, man, this is doing so well, why isn't this there yet? And it's obvious, but it's just we have to remind ourselves and put extra work in. And kind of like you said too, even from mine was my right quad, but I definitely was compensating with my left side for a period of time, so I started to
Mhm.
feel like weird things in my left side. And it's like, okay, well, I know why it's happening, but it's still frustrating. But once again, if I can get to where you're at, and first off, you're there. So when I see you doing that stuff, it motivates me because I'm like, okay, I know that not only did he tear one quad, he tore both. And he was a very high level lifter. Look what he's doing. Okay. If he can do it, like I can do it too. So it's like I'm chasing
Yeah.
you, basically chasing the carrot. So it's great though to see that kind of stuff, because once again, there's guys who have career ending injuries and I don't fault them by any means. Like I'm
No,
like,
not
hey,
at all.
like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Like I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you what you should do, and that's totally fine. But when you see the guy who has it and then makes a comeback or comes back even stronger or better or does something completely different at a high level, you're like, damn, like that's impressive. I respect that a lot.
Yeah. The next goal for me is I want to run a 6 minute mile.
Yeah.
I think that's the next goal. Um, so we wanted to chat today about, I mean, this is a great actual segue because, you mentioned earlier in the week, you're like, we should do like a life hacks episode, like some of the things that we do or the tools that we use that allow us to, function at the level that we do. And I think for me, a lot of the hacks that I developed over the years were part of the reason why I was able to come back so well. Um, so let's frame this around like maybe tools that we use or strategies that we implement on a do you want to do daily basis, weekly basis, a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I would say we can just riff back and forth on, and I'm sure like more will pop in, as we're both talking.
Hmm.
But there, I would say just like staples, whether
Okay.
it's yeah, once a month, once a year, but it's something that's been consistent for a period of time. And it
Hmm.
could be different. It could be, I've been doing this for 10 years and this is how it's been regimented, or it could be something that's been fairly new. And you're like, I don't know what I would have done without this. You know what I mean? But
Perfect.
we can take it any way we want. This is just the whatever we want to do with podcasts. So,
I love it. Uh,
we can riff on whatever, man.
all right, I'm going to start off. This is something that I've done years. Like we're talking multiple years. I started it, I want to say I started it as soon as I went full time into coaching and when I had moved back to Ottawa. So we're talking like 2020. So almost 6 or 7 years ago. I'm going to pull it out here for the people that are watching. It's a happy light.
Oh,
So this isn't necessarily a hack, but it is a phenomenal tool. So what this is it's a light that I guess I get in front of my mic here. It's a light that when it contacts your eyes, it has the same effect as sunlight.
okay.
So because I wake up so early in the morning, ideally I would like to go outside and get some sunlight, but it's dark. And when I was living in Canada, it'd be dark until like 8 a.m. So what I do is when I wake up, I make my coffee, take my morning supplements, I sit down on the couch to read my book, and I turn on the happy light. So I have one on the beside the couch, and I have one at my desk. And so I'll leave that on for the first like hour and a half, 2 hours of my day before I go do cardio. So I'll read my book with it. It's like, about 4 feet from my face, just like in the corner of my eye, I can see it. The amount of like wakefulness that I get from that light, has just been game changing. I don't have that like lull of like trying to like wake myself up. Um, and it's supposed to really help with vitamin D production and resetting your circadian rhythm for those people who maybe live in colder climates, darker climates, or people who have shifted their schedules earlier in the day.
Yeah, dude. No, that's phenomenal. I do something similar, but it's with the Hue light bulbs. So in our house, we basically have a ton of the Philips Hue light bulbs.
Okay.
So I can change like it's all from my phone on the app, but every bulb in
Oh,
the house is connected with Bluetooth,
okay.
I guess, or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, either one. Um, but you can set them for when you wake up and when you go to bed, and it has an option where it will ramp up slowly. So if I want to wake up at 6 or whatever in the morning, it'll start at like 5:30, and it'll be like you can't even notice it, and then it will ramp up to the wake time, which is pretty sick.
That's
So very
awesome.
similar, and I think I had definitely heard of the happy lamp, but this is also when like Huberman was popping off, and his big thing was
Yeah.
like the morning circadian rhythm. But I definitely am a huge advocate of getting early sunlight or something that mimics the same type of light exposure, especially for circadian rhythm. But yeah, I mean, we have obviously like daylight savings. So in the
Hmm.
morning, it's like pitch black. And that definitely, if you don't have some sort of light, is going to mess with you. And it's usually really cold outside. So as much as you want to say, I'm going to go outside and take a morning walk or bask on the porch, It's definitely not happening.
Definitely not
So
happening.
I love that. And how much are they? Do you remember price point for those?
Oh, it's less than $30.
Yeah, so it's like for
Yeah,
less than
super
30
cheap.
bucks, you know.
Yeah, Liv's got one at her desk. I've got one at my desk. We've got one on the couch. Um, yeah, they're staples, especially days where I have to like tomorrow. Wednesday is usually like a pretty big admin day, so I don't do my morning reading and stuff like that. I just wake up, make my coffee, and get to my desk.
Mhm.
It's so nice to have like, all right, I'm cognitively functional the moment I sit down.
Yeah, I don't know if you're the same way as me, but so for some reason, the lights. I guess it's the vibe, but it makes me feel better. Like
Oh
as you can
yeah.
tell, like I have like a neon light there. I have this little desk light that's perfect when I'm working late or early in the morning. So it's just enough where it kind
Hmm.
of like just gets you in the vibe, almost like makes you cozy and puts you in like a little bit of a flow state.
Well, you have the red lights in the gym too.
Oh yeah, yeah. The gym. See, that's the thing is like the lighting to me is the vibe. So that's why we have these. Because the thing about the Hue light bulbs is I can do any color. They do like different modes. So you can do like fireplace or I don't know, the different patterns. So
Okay.
depending on like who's over or what we're doing, yeah, I'll put those on and you can definitely like see the shift in the energy where it's like if we want to make it super intimate, like deep conversation or we're watching a movie versus we have some friends over, we want to have some fun, we're playing games. Like I think that there's such an underrated value for vibe checks, like we're whatever or wherever you are. Uh, and I don't know, or just play with it next time. Like just don't say anything, but just see like if you do it,
Yeah.
like what the difference is versus not.
I'm gonna look into these Hue light bulbs.
Yeah, they're just fun. I don't know. I think it's just fun, and if I can have fun with it, it just makes you feel better, right?
Totally.
It's like just journaling or something, right? Like you journal and you're like doing it, and you're like, I just feel better after, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so one of mine that I've been an advocate of this. I would say like more like conscious with it probably since high school. But that is visualization.
Okay.
So I got into this when I was more competitive with sports, and I remember learning about it through one of my teachers, and then I actually bought a textbook that I don't think I have down here, but it was an awesome college textbook that I bought in high school because he told me like this is a great book on it. But it was basically sports psychology, and a huge component of it was visualization. And I remember, like just thinking about the competitions or rehearsing every little detail in my brain, specifically at that time during sports. And then I realized how much it would segue over to everything else that I would do.
Hmm.
And man, what a game changer it was. So, especially for sports, for me, I would rehearse everything in my brain hundreds, if not thousands of times before the game or before the competition. And that was going through almost like every scenario, right? Like a lot of people, I think, with visualization go one or extreme or the other. They either think like best case scenario or their brain is automatically wired for worst case.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, I want to go through every single one of them.
Hmm.
And that for me just prepared me mentally with so many reps before the thing ever happened.
Yeah.
So it was almost like no matter what happened or what outcome, it was like I was already there. I'd already
There's no
processed this.
surprises.
Yeah, no surprises. I just had much more relaxed composure. I was more focused. So now, I'll do it with my day. Like I tend to pre-plan the day.
Okay.
Like tonight I would plan tomorrow. And just by going through that visualization of like what my day is going to look like, how it's going to feel, maybe I have a meeting. Okay, well, if I'm going to have that meeting, what do I want my body language to be like? If somebody's going to say something or, maybe I'm expecting a presentation, whatever it is, it's like I've just rehearsed it so many times that when I get there, I just feel so much better about it. And I remember before I did this, like I would have something that would happen to me unexpectedly
Hmm.
and I would, feel heart rate go up or I would start to panic or if it was something I wasn't expecting, it would just throw me totally off. And I wasn't quick to like erase something from my brain and have like that next play mindset
Hmm.
where visualization now for me, man, is every day, pretty much all the time. And especially with the athletes I work with, like we have games coming up, I'll sit down with them and we'll just rehearse. Like I want you guys starting now. Like, think about what this is going to feel like. Think about the noise, from the stands, or, if say there was some trash talk or banter, like not letting that get to you, any
Mhm.
of these variables that are going to surprise us, like let's rehearse it in our brain, or just the feeling of winning. Like, what is it going to
Mhm.
feel like to you to win? What is it going to feel like when you're going up and you're getting that trophy? Like all these like little things, it's like I just feel like it makes us almost be present for the future, if that
Yep.
makes sense. Um, so that's been just such a, I would say, a hack for me, because I just feel like so many people could benefit by just going through whatever they're worried about or stressed about or have feelings towards. Instead of just being reactive, they can be proactive with it.
Mhm.
And I've always noticed a huge difference in myself with when that situation happens, whatever it is, than if I didn't do that. And it's been something I've done for so long that it's just ingrained in me.
Mhm.
But I do think for anybody who's listening to this who hasn't tried some sort of visualization, just to simply start, put 5 minutes on a clock, close your eyes, and just go through whatever you have. Maybe it's the day tomorrow, maybe it's a talk with your boss, or whatever it is, and try to go through every single scenario. Just focus on, how does that make you feel,
Mhm.
and just changing, different variables, over and over and over again. And then guarantee you, when you go into that the next day, you're just going to feel like, man, like I've been here, I rehearsed this, I feel better about this, than if you didn't.
Yeah, the mistake I think a lot of people make with visualization is they think too broadly. And you hit the nail on the head. It's like, how's this going to feel? How's this? What about if this variable changes? The sounds, the banter, all that stuff. That to me is where the magic of visualization comes in. I used to use it a lot for competitions. So like when I was competing, be like, all right, where am I going to put my hands? What does that bar feel like? I remember when I would go to weigh in 24 hours ahead, I'd get on the platform, I'd take a look at the crowd. I'd say, okay, the judge is going to be here. It's going to be busy. Those booths are over there. This is where I'm going to look when I'm squatting. This is where the bar is going to feel like in my hands. I'd go and touch the plates and all that sort of stuff because I wanted to be able to fully orient myself within the space. And then I'm also really big on if I'm going to visualize success, I also want to visualize failure
Mhm.
because my mindset is such that my effort is going to be consistent. And I want to know that even if I don't succeed in achieving the goal that I've set for myself, that I put myself in the best position to succeed. And the only way that I can do that is to visualize what failure might look like or
Mhm.
what lack of success, we'll call it, will look like. Um, that's always been huge for me. I'm also big. I remember when I was in around 2019, 2020, when I was going through my really challenging period, I couldn't really get into the vibe of meditation because I was so high strung and anxious. So I would instead revert to visualization. So same way that you would, it's like, okay, visualize like what am I stressed about? How am I feeling about it? And kind of go through these like visual prompts of what's going on in the big picture. And that would actually help me get into what is my second hack, which is journaling.
Mhm.
Like journaling for me, non-negotiable. It used to be a daily thing. Now it's probably twice a week, three times a week. Um, Funny enough, I tend to journal on on the days when I feel like I have the least amount of time. So most people are like, "Oh, I don't have time to journal." When I feel like I don't have time to journal, I know it's time to journal.
Hmm.
Um, but it used to be daily, non-negotiable. I would ask myself five questions. I would do the visualization, then I would ask myself five questions. Be like, "What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? What is stressing you out? What can you do today to address that stress?" And then something I was grateful for. And that kind of evolved. I got really in. Have you ever tried stem journaling?
No, or
So
maybe I
stem,
have, but you have to inform me.
sure. So stem journaling, for anyone who's never heard that term, it essentially gives you the first part of a sentence, and then you have to provide, let's say, 5 to 10 endings to the sentence.
Okay.
So the stem could be, if I took more accountability for my life, dot, dot, dot. And then you just finish the sentence over and over and over again. And so that was for a period part of my journaling practice. Um, for me, someone who lives in their head so much, to be able to get my thoughts onto paper, made the visualization that I was doing real, and then allowed me to actually take better action, more aligned action within the day to day. And for me, like in terms of prioritization, especially now when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I have too much on my plate, if I take that 10 minutes away to journal, I gain back an hour of my day almost because I'm
Hmm.
so much more productive. In the same way that like I would go for walks. If I feel like I don't have time for a walk, it's probably the time that I need to go for a walk.
Hmm.
Just go clear your head. That 10 minutes that you're going to take away from your desk is going to net you an extra hour of productivity that would have been spent just staring at your screen or being exhausted. You get that boost of energy, you get that boost of direction, and it really moves you in the way that in a way forward.
I was going to say, why do you think that is? Do you think it's the clarity you get from taking the time? Like, or do
Oh,
you think, or
absolutely.
just both of like, okay, I'm getting up, blood is flowing, brain is going, so I
I
guess,
think it's
yeah.
more the clarity for me because when I'm sitting in overwhelm, it's almost paralyzing
Hmm.
because it's like I have so much to do, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just going to stare at the screen. Or this is the worst thing that people can do is they go to their to-do list and they start checking off the easy shit, the
Right.
stuff that doesn't matter because they get that dopamine. They're like, I'm being productive. It's like, no, you're not. You're just delaying the shit you're supposed to do.
Right. Where do you think is the biggest mistake either you've made with journaling in the past, or you think that from when you talk to people that they make the most?
Venting.
Okay.
Venting. I
I do
used
agree. I think that's the same with therapists as well.
Yeah, yeah. I used to just I remember the first therapist I had in when I first went to therapy in 2014 is actually the same therapist I have now. But when I was going through my darker period in 2019 when I was living out west, um, I didn't want to see a therapist remotely. So I found someone new in my area who I could visit in person. And it ended up just being a fucking emotional dump for an hour. I would just dump on this person and it was so unproductive. And I was doing the same thing with my journaling. I would just journal about the shit that I hated. I would journal about the negativity, and there would never be that reframe. And so when I realized that I'm like, okay, this isn't serving me, I fired that therapist. I contacted my old therapist and I was like, hey, will you see me remotely? And it was during COVID. So that's when that transition kind of started. She's like, yeah, I'll see you remotely. No big deal. And at the time, I actually couldn't afford her because the therapist that I was seeing was through the benefits of the job that I had at the time. And I couldn't afford her, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to spend the money. I'll figure out a way to make it back. Um, and I accumulated a bunch of debt just from therapy that I ended up having to pay back, but so worth it. Um, the reframe that you get from targeted journaling, which is why I came up with those prompts, when you just vent, there's no forward momentum. You're a victim of circumstance. You're just talking shit about the bad things that are in your life. That serves nobody. I think there's an opportunity to just get it off your chest. It's the same. Okay, so in Canada, they have this thing called Bell Let's Talk Day, and it's supposed to promote like mental health awareness. But the tagline for Bell Mental Health is "It's okay to not be okay,"
Hmm.
which never sat well with me. It's not okay to not be okay. You should be trying to move forward. There should be a path forward. It's okay to not be okay if you're moving forward.
Right.
Venting into your journal or venting to a therapist is just perpetuating your victim mentality and moving you further away from the thing that's going to actually move the needle, which is action. And I'm probably going to catch a whole bunch of slack for that, and I don't care.
No, I think you're 100% right because I've journaled, I don't know, since I was probably in high school. So I've done all sorts of different journaling,
Mhm.
and I remember I think I was cleaning out. Yeah, I had to clean out my bedroom in my parents' house like several years ago, and I found like one of my old journals, dude, and all it was just negative vomit. Like
Yeah.
just every page, because that's, to me, I didn't learn anything about journaling. I thought that it was like a diary, like dear diary. Here's how my day was. And guess
Yeah.
what? Every day that I had
Sucked.
sucked. So
Yeah.
all it was just, I'm like reading it like, bro, like you're a miserable piece of shit. I mean,
Yeah.
like being where I was now, but it was true. And then I picked up, I think it was just one of those like daily gratitude journals, like after that.
Hmm.
And that was okay. But it got like really redundant. And really what had changed for me was getting better prompts, kind of like you said, where it was either, like it started, what was it, the stem? Is that what you called it?
Yep.
Yeah. So it was like stem, or it was just one line. And then I just had to initially give my response to that and kind of like would see where it would go.
Hmm.
But once I started having better prompts, I really started to pick up either patterns or reframing like my thought process more. And that's where I would see a transformation as I would go through the journal, right? Where before, you go back in the day, dude, it was just like, okay, there's really no change. It's the same crap over and over and over again. But once I found better prompts, and I think it's different for everybody, like, and I think it all is depends on what, like where you're at in your life.
Hmm.
But I would definitely agree with you that finding prompts and the prompts that are going to connect or resonate with you the best, and sometimes that doesn't mean you're going to like them. That means that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
they're actually on purpose, like triggering you for some sort of reason. And it may be like, why is this triggering me every damn time? Like this prompt comes up. Okay, well
Hmm.
now we got to dive deeper. But I would agree 100% it's the same with therapy. And I would be interested, like, and I'm not trying to start any like tangents here, but when I was first going to therapy, it was also through insurance. And
Hmm.
that therapist I had for maybe a year or two and got
Hmm.
nowhere. And it really was just a word vomit, me venting, and, him basically being like, okay, well, yeah, see you next week. And then it'd be the same thing over and over again. Where when I was really struggling, and this was probably 2022, 2023 ish, that was out of pocket, I think $200 an
Yep.
hour, you
Same.
know, and it really was the point where I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to continue to afford this. But it was so valuable that it literally made me make huge life changing decisions,
Hmm.
that now, I mean, I haven't gone back. Not saying that I wouldn't, but if I did, it would be going back to that method, But one, and I think there's such a higher investment too. Like we talk about coaching, with our clients, whether it's, training or nutrition. And it's like, if you're going to put, good investment in, that those clients are always going to do better than if you're offering the $20,
Oh, yeah.
$50, whatever. So I do think that it's one of the, like, if you're going to go either a journal routes or a therapist route, like you really need to wholeheartedly like do your homework, invest in that, and make the right decision. And cheaper does not mean better by any means.
Mm-mm.
And just buying a journal does not mean that your life is going to change either.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I did. Yeah, I ended up with the therapist that I work with now. We did ton of CBT initially. Try to reframe the thought processes, and then once I was on more stable ground, we went into a lot of the why
Mhm.
I'm feeling this way, and inner child work and stuff like that. And dude, that's completely changed my life.
Did you ever try EMDR?
No,
We
no.
we got into that a little bit, but she was also, this was one I was paying a lot for. She was really getting into it, and it was interesting. I didn't do it enough to really like get into the weeds of it, but it was good. Same thing. We did like cognitive behavioral for the most of it. Similar, yeah, similar to you. But then she wanted to try that, and I think I'd have to give that way more time. But I was interested to see like if anything subconsciously would start to kind of come out with that. And I know that there's a you know back and forth research on whether or not it works or doesn't work. But at that point, I was like, I'll try whatever. Um, but
Do
yeah.
you feel like your experience with therapy prepared you more as a father?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say yes, because a lot of my therapy was either centered around like my relationships in terms of like, girlfriends, or
Hmm.
it was shaped around my upbringing.
Hmm.
So I would say a large chunk of that, even, well, okay, I'll backtrack. The problems with the relationships were because of my upbringing. Like that
Of
was like,
course. Yeah.
it went back to that,
Hmm.
So now being a father, I realize that there's such more importance to it, that, I need to really be aware of my thoughts, my actions, what's coming out of my mouth. And not only how is that going to affect me, but also now my child. You know what I mean? And I think it's definitely given me a different perspective on how I want to parent, the environment
Hmm.
that I want to raise, our kids in with our family. And like I said, even more so just my relationship with my wife. So
Hmm.
I definitely think it was worth it from that. And also, if you want to just look big picture, as simply as you can put it, is like your environment at the child adolescent age is so pivotal to, I want to say, like the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you become a parent, you're like, damn, yeah, I know there's responsibility, but like there is a lot of responsibility,
Oh yeah.
that you maybe didn't think about as much, because it's easy to just say stuff and not really think about it. But now I'm like, everything I say is being watched. How I act is
Hmm.
being watched, towards my kids, towards my wife, towards my friends, everything. That he is right now is such a sponge that I really need to be present, and I need to be thoughtful with all those thoughts and actions,
Yeah.
because that can change the course of how he'll be for the rest of his life.
Dude, I totally see that. Like for me, a similar vein is like the relationships that I entered into, the marriage that I entered into. All of these were toxic because of the baggage that I brought into them. Right? Like, the feelings of inadequacy as a child led to me seeking validation from others, and a lot of codependency type of behaviors. And now, like, I look at the relationship I have with my wife and the relationship that I have with the close friends that I have, and I want to be able to impart those lessons on a young person, when they go through a challenging time. Hey, how do you feel about that? If they're misbehaving, why do you feel like you need to behave this way? Like, what's driving you to take these actions? Like, asking really good questions, because that was something that I never had the opportunity to introspect about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, it's really easy to say, hey, don't do that, rather than, hey, man, like, why do you feel you need to lash out, or why do you feel you need to be the center of attention? And, you know, whatever it might be. Because I think kids, especially, and I'm learning this from my nephew, they're really smart, man. They're
Oh, dude, they're
really
so
smart, but you
smart.
just have to give them the opportunity to talk. And I think that in most cases, you're so worried about the next place you have to be or the next thing you have to do, you forget to just let them think. You know, my nephew went through like a really traumatic experience about a week ago at his school. Did we talk about this?
I don't believe so.
So I'm going to share the details. It's quite graphic, but so my nephew's in grade 6, and their whole school went on a ski trip. A girl that he didn't know in grade 8 was getting off of the chairlift at the ski resort, and the chairlift caught her hood on her jacket.
Uh-oh.
And so she was hanging by her neck from the chairlift. The chairlift operator froze in shock and didn't press the button to stop the chairlift. Alex, my brother's neighbor, ended up catching this young girl and trying to lift her up so she could breathe as the chairlift is taking her around and away. This young girl in grade 8 hung to her death down a chairlift while the entire school watched.
No.
Luckily, my nephew, and like I have chills saying this, and like I almost vomited when Alex told me this.
Bro.
My nephew didn't see, but now because of the age of social media and everybody having phones, there's a video circulating school of this young girl hanging to her death on a chairlift.
Oh.
My brother asked his son, grade 6, so he's like 12 years old, how do you feel? And my nephew said, I'm sad and I'm angry because there's nothing that I could have done to help her, and she's gone.
Ugh.
And Alex was like, okay, is that going to change how you behave? And he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a little bit more safe.
Dude, that's
And so,
wild.
like, just that little exchange, Alex could have left it to the counselors at the school because the school is giving them mental health support. And obviously, it's traumatic for everyone involved. But I think just letting him think and letting him feel and letting him process and giving him space to do that. Alex has been through his own therapy. Like Alex dealt with depression, ADHD, all anxiety, all the things. We weren't very close until Alex went out to university. And then at the same time as he went to university, I moved to the US. But during that time is when he went through a really challenging period. He was hospitalized a couple of times for mental health issues, and that's when we got really close. Like there was a point where I was living in Pittsburgh at the time, and I would drive to Toronto just to spend a night with him and then drive back.
Mm.
And it was during those times where we got really close. And like I think that those lessons that Alex learned about managing his own emotions and regulating, he's now able to pass on to his son. And his son is so cool. And I think that that is going to just serve him so much in the future. And if anything, like the hack of journaling or the hack of visualization or even just going to therapy, like as much as it is for you, think about the people in your life that rely on you. It's for them too. So you
Yeah.
can show up as your best self.
Yeah, and I think even like with a relationship with your nephew and your brother is like the communication lines get opened way more,
Mm-hmm.
where like one of my biggest things growing up was I was always confused. Like I didn't know why I was being punished or why I was being yelled at. I just got yelled
Mm-hmm.
at and I was punished. So I'm just like sitting in there, I have no idea why. And then, I say I get come down or whatever. Next day it like happens again. And it's like if only they, there was more communication and understanding on both ends, which is like what I'm going to try to do, with my son and, future kids is like, yeah, once again, like start the dialogue. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel the need to do that? Or how does it make you feel? Okay, well, now I understand why on your end. And then I want to communicate that on my end. So now we have a two-way street to work with. So in
Mm-hmm.
the future, when these things happen, I can either, understand from their perspective and it can change my reaction. And
Mm-hmm.
they can equally understand why I react a certain way. Like my goal as a parent, and I've always respected this with some of the either the father figures or bosses or just people in my life. I always want to be fair. Like when
Mm-hmm.
my kids talk about me, I want them to be like one of the things I want them to say is my dad was fair. Like if they
Mm-hmm.
got in trouble, they knew and they understood why they got in trouble and they respected it. Like they'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, I deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, my dad was this. I don't know why he was that way. I don't understand. Right. Like I don't ever want them to have that gray area because
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was for a long time, probably still am with certain things. And that affected my behavior and affected once again, it's like that ripple in the pond. It
Yeah.
affected my relationships, other people in my life. And, now that's why I have to like try to go back so much and, try to sort through things and figure things out. Where when you have a family or, significant other or a kid, it's almost like you have this clean slate and you just
Mm-hmm.
have to have that awareness. Okay. Like if we have a clean slate, where are we going to start the painting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, that's first of all, that's horrible. Like, I
Yeah.
honestly
Dude.
did not think you were going to tell me that the girl actually
Yeah.
died.
Well, she was in the ICU for, I think, a day and then ended up passing.
Either way, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, just
Terrible.
ever since we had our child, kids, man, like trigger me a
Hmm.
thousand times more. And I don't know if I ever told you this or we talked about on the podcast, but when we had Leighton, um, well, first thing is I bawled my eyes out like crazy, which I knew was, I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure if I was going to cry or not. Dude, I bawled my eyes out. And I remember it was my wife and I in the room by ourselves. And I looked at her and I was like kind of angry. And she's like, what's going on? And I was still like, visually upset, like kind of crying. And I was like, I truly don't understand how any person on this planet could harm a child. Like, it
Yeah.
made me so angry. Like
Mhm.
that, it's just the most perfect, most beautiful, innocent thing on the planet that somebody could do harm to that. And I was
Mhm.
like, and I got like enraged thinking about it. But it was like, obviously, I thought that before I had a kid, but then it was like, once I had it, dude, it was just like that times a million. So anything with kids now, or like even like that protective father instinct, like for me, I truly was like, I don't know. If I'm like, I always want to be protective, like I am of my wife and my close friends and family. But with a kid, you don't know what to expect. And it was funny because we were at like a social event at one of my friends' places, and there were these kids that were bullying my son, like blatantly. Like, I'm all for like they're being jokesters or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and they were bullying, and they were at the age where they were well aware what they were doing. And
Yeah.
I like literally go over and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, no. And Jordan's like cracking up. And I was like, she could see I was like all like worked up. And I was like, no, I was like, I am never like I'll have a
Yeah.
switch. Like, cause for the most part, I try not to be super confrontational. Like, I try to de-escalate or whatever. But dude, that right away, I was just like green light, like not cool. Like, I know there's like an 8-year old, maybe like a 7-year old. I'm over there like, I'm like, not, this is not cool. I'm like, you guys don't treat it this way.
How many 7-year-olds do you think you could beat up at one time?
Oh, dude, this is like would you rather take on 100 chickens or,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
exactly where I was going with it.
I think I would give a fair share of a fight to, I don't know, there's 7-year olds. Let's say they're untrained 7-year olds, just a lot of energy. I think it would, it'd probably be more of when do I just get gassed out? That
Yeah,
would be
that's
the
what I was
thing.
thinking
Like, I
too.
think I would keep going until they gassed me out.
Because you could one punch most of them.
Oh, dude, yeah. And plus, if I have a good knee by that point, like just gonna start just drop kicking little ones.
That's so funny.
Um, here I go. I'm like, I love kids, and here we are talking about me, just like taking on an army of
I could
7 year
never
olds.
harm a child unless they harmed my
Yeah,
child.
unless you say something about my kid, I'm gonna kill you. No, but dude, I don't even know how we just got to 53 minutes and 23 seconds, bro. We didn't even like cover like any hacks. What the
All right,
hell?
life hack number two, or sorry, number three for me. So I'm going to give a productivity one. Uh, I'm really big on planning. I'm also really big on being organized. I have a lot of things on the go at the same time. One of the tools that I came across a while ago and that I use to kind of plan my weeks is a tool called Trello. Trello is a website. They have a free version, which I use, and it has all the functionality that I need. And I know that there's a lot of paid features that could enhance what I do, but the free version works great. Essentially, it allows you to create a board, and you can create different cards on the board for different things that you're doing. So the way that I have it organized is I have a card for every day of the week. And on each day of the week, I have the non negotiable tasks that have to get done on those days. So, like every day, I have a task that's video reviews. 2 days of the week, I have a task that's filming for social media. A couple of days on Fridays, I have my budget review. On on Mondays, I review the blog posts for the team for the week, and like so, I separate all the business related tasks that need to get done within a week, I allocate the number of days and the frequency at which they have to get done to a specific day. So that's the first thing. The other thing is I have projects that I have on the go, projects that I want to do, and then projects that are completed. And what I do every day is I take a look at my schedule. I take a look at the daily non-negotiable tasks for that day, and I transfer those tasks into my Apple reminders app. And so as I go through the day, I just check them off as I do them. And so that gives me the dopamine hit. And because I know that I have all of my weekly tasks within this board, I can get everything done within a week that I need to on the days that they need to get done. So the hack is use Trello to plan out your week and your daily non-negotiables. And then every morning, transfer those non-negotiables for that day into the reminders app. And then just use that as your daily checklist.
Bro, this is hilarious because I'm a dinosaur and I literally, I guess, have Trello in my own way with post-it notes.
Oh, I used to do post-it notes, and I have a whiteboard over here off
Yeah.
camera, and it just got too chaotic.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about it and I have it written down. So I'm gonna look at it. But I literally so if you were to see my monitor, the bottom of my monitor is
It's just
seven post-it.
post-its.
Well, it's post-it notes, but it's seven of them. And
Yep.
that's where I put my non-negotiable.
Okay.
And then I take it off. And then I have my whole like stack that I just slap it on. And that's like the dopamine hit. And I have like all
Okay.
the different colors and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, like that's the thing is like I'm old school, like pen and paper, but pen and paper leads to clutter and mess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to slowly get my dinosaur brain to be more 2026. Like when I first got on ChatGPT when it first came out, I was like, this is not good. Like I don't even know why people are about this. And then when I tore my quad, I was like trying to organize all of these documents I had from just years of just putting things into my Google Drive. And I was like, let's go on ChatGPT and see what we can do here. So
Yeah.
I started typing like, here's what my Google Drive is like. Here's how I would categorize things. Like, can you help me organize it, bro?
Mm-hmm.
I think within maybe 30 minutes to an hour, what would have taken me probably 2 months, like,
Mm-hmm.
like was accomplished. And I was like, damn, ChatGPT is pretty legit.
Yeah. I used to use, so before I started using Trello, I would actually use my Google Calendar, and I would book like a full day meeting at the top of every day, and I would put those tasks in that meeting.
And then okay.
So instead of using the calendar, I use Trello because that allows me to put like all the projects that I have in the works there too.
Yeah. No, I like it. I'm getting more integrated to AI because I really feel like it's just a tool and it's one
It
of those
is.
things that you just have to understand, right tool, right job, how to use it. And I do think in today's world, if you don't, that's going to be an easy way to get left behind or just not be as productive or efficient as you need to be in 2026 and moving forward. Um, Now, my next one, I guess it piggybacks off of what we were just talking about, but it's way more simplified. And it was on the days like where I am overwhelmed, and I think this is like we all catch ourselves in these like kind of slumps where
Mhm.
maybe you're in a really good productive groove for a long time, or maybe something like pops up, like you get sick or you had an emergency that kind of just derailed you. For me, because obviously the to-do lists, they can be a little bit lengthy. I literally will just scrap them and pick one thing. And for me, it's just focusing solely on like I'll use it for like workouts, for example. Like if I'm, stressed either with projects going on or time management, or I had some sort of thing that, totally derailed the day and I got to get my training in. And for me, normally my sessions can be, hour and a half, depending how far into a training cycle I am, maybe it could be 2 hours, like
Right.
depending on what the goals are. And then I'm like, if I already start thinking about all the things that I have to do during that training session, it become overwhelming. And then it kind of can, give me the paralysis by analysis. But if I'm like, you know what, hey, I'm just going to deadlift. That's all I'm doing. I'm going in and I'm deadlifting. Here are my
Mhm.
sets and my reps. Guess what? If all I do is deadlift, that's a win because I
Mhm.
got in and I did the one thing that I said I was going to do. Now, what I have always found is one thing turns to two things turns to three things. And for the most part, even if it's not 100% perfect, like I get way more done from starting
Yep.
just with the one thing than trying to tackle on that overwhelmingness of all of it at once. So
Yep.
I just think for people, a lot of people like are paralyzed to get started. We talk about
Mhm.
like video creation or whatever it is. Maybe it's your freaking taxes because I'm in tax season right
Oh,
now.
dude.
You know, it's
Yep.
like, okay, well, I have to go through all my expenses for 2025 that, and I have my spreadsheet from last year, which is insanely long. I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that looks real easy to do. Not today, but
Yep.
instead, make the new spreadsheet. I put in January 25 or whatever, and then I just do the expenses for January. And guess what? If I'm on a roll, maybe I'll do February too. But guess what? All I'm telling myself is just get the expenses done for January.
Mhm.
Obviously, I know I'm already a little bit ahead of time, right? Like I have some time to do it. But if I can just focus on that one singular thing, and I would also piggyback on what you said is prioritize the most important one.
Yeah.
That's always the big one. Um, it's just going to be so much easier to sustain, and you'll find that you're going to build momentum pretty quickly off of that, versus writing everything down. Sometimes like I think in the past I used to try to like jam my day with like everything. You know what I mean? Like it's like a I don't know if it's a problem for specific people, but it was like if I don't have every like hour filled with something, like I'm not doing like the right job. So it's like I had to reverse engineer
Yeah.
that the opposite way, actually.
Yeah. For me, that came from an insecurity. It's like if I'm not working, I'm not moving forward. But what I came to realize, and I realized this when I hired my assistant, was like, so she freed up like 10 hours of my week. I made a commitment to myself to only fill five of those.
Yeah.
And then the other five I allocated to things that I enjoy. So like when I hired her, it was around the same time we moved to the States. I was like, I'm gonna go shooting for 2 hours a week. And that's gonna be my time.
Hmm.
So it's like I'm paying this person $800 a month so that I can go shooting. But at the end of the day, it ended up being like a lot of the stuff that I would fall off on or forget or whatever, that ends up getting done. So I gained a ton of time back. Um, yeah, that's I struggle with that one personally because if things are on my list and they don't get done, I beat myself to shit about it.
Right.
Like my inner self talk around that is so challenging. So I've had to really work hard to take that type of approach.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely am a big believer in the snowball. And that's a strategy that I use with my clients all the time. It's like, okay, cool. Your day went to shit. What can you control? What's the
Hmm.
one step that you can take in the right direction? Is it getting your steps? Is it making sure you eat enough protein? Is it making sure that you get the training session in? Maybe your training session today was supposed to be heavy deadlifts, but you went for a 1 hour walk instead. Dude, that's a win.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Um, yeah, I love that. It's life hacks can go. Actually, I'm gonna leave my last one. I guess is number four. If you own a business that requires you to be in service of others, so like us as coaches or me as a mentor, I did the math the other day. I have to manage communications with about 70 people. It's a lot. I have 43 clients right now and I have about 28 to 30 mentees at any given time, depending on like what stage of their business they're at. I have specific channels of communication for each one. So at no point do I ever allow people to text me.
Mm.
Unless you're my friend or my family member, you don't text me. My texts, personal communication only. Email, if you need me to do something for you, send it to me in an email. If you're asking me a quick question and you're one of my mentees, it's in WhatsApp. If you're one of my clients for coaching, it's in our coaching app. So I know if I'm in WhatsApp, I'm in mentorship mode. If I'm
Hmm.
in email mode, I'm into getting shit done mode. If I'm in coaching mode, I'm in the app. And I do not work from my phone anymore. So if someone will message me on the wrong channel, I have no problem going, hey, send this to me here. Someone sends me a WhatsApp that says, hey, I need you to do this for me. Cool, no problem. I'll get it done. Email me. And if they don't email me, it doesn't get done.
Mm.
And that's been an ongoing education process with the people that I work with. But now they know how I operate and they fall in line. And that's been huge for me because when I'm training, my phone's on do not disturb. When I'm with Liv, all of my notifications on everything except text messages are silenced. When I'm working, my text messages are silenced, but my WhatsApp is on and my app notifications are on. So I use the focus modes of my phone to dictate what mode that I'm in. And it's been profoundly impactful for my quality of life, number one, but number two, my productivity.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I would say I started doing that the last year, being very strict with that. Because in the past, dude, it would be out of control where if you had like a WhatsApp, you have your email, you have your phone. And I remember it wasn't a ton, but it doesn't have to be a ton
Mhm.
of just say it's like, say 4 or 3 to 5 clients that are messaging you on your phone, on WhatsApp, and emailing you. That alone is enough to drive anybody just bonkers because you don't, it's just the organization, or you're out and you're trying to focus with family and then you have a client who is texting you at like a when you're supposed to be off work, and it's like even if you don't respond to it, it's still there,
Mhm.
because you saw it, versus like when you're sitting in your office and you're in like that workspace, which I guess that's what's difficult. It's way easier now because there's more people doing it, but it used to always just be like work environment and home, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like now with like remote, it's just bridged, or across so many realms where like what's personal time, what's work time. You have to figure that out now. It's not
Mhm.
like, hey, we work 9 to 5. It's you can set up your schedule however you want, and with great power comes great responsibility, and on so more organization. But I just remember, yeah, I had to get to a point where I was like a hard cutoff. I remember I sent like a email to all the clients, like mainly talking to just like the small percentage of people that were doing it, but it was like, here moving forward, like if you need to contact me and your clients on WhatsApp, important things will be email, etc. But I couldn't agree more on how much that frees up the mental space, productivity, and like we've talked about before, just boundaries. Like you
Yeah.
need those boundaries. That's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got any other hacks?
Uh, we can honestly, dude. I feel like we could do another podcast on the same topic, like another time, and because
For sure.
I think this is a good one. Like, there's a ton that we can talk about, and I like actually going deeper into each one.
Yeah, me too.
But or we could schedule a next one where it's like work work productivity themed, and it could be like something else. I don't know. We'll get creative with it. We literally just go through our weeks doing what we normally do, and we just have these thoughts of things we want to talk about, and we just start texting each other, and then that's how these topics are created. There's really no secret magic formula to it. It's just genuine. Hey, this is what I was thinking. Is this cool? Yeah, let's make a podcast about it.
Yeah, I think as people listen, if you've made it this far in the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a comment, send us a DM on Instagram if there's things that you want us to talk about, or you want to hear our points of view on. We'd love your input. Selfishly, this podcast is for us to be able to chat and like shoot the shit and learn from each other and share experiences. But if we can help anyone along the way, I think that's ultimately the goal, especially when it comes to like the prospect of building forward. Like every single one of the people who is listening to this, both of us, like we're just trying to be better. We're
Mhm.
just trying to be better versions of ourselves. And I was listening to a podcast this week, and are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yep.
Okay, so The top of Maslow's hierarchy is called self actualization. So essentially means like finding your purpose. Maslow wrote about a next tier of his hierarchy that he never published. It's called self transcendence. So it goes beyond purpose towards fulfillment. And that really resonated with me because purpose is one thing where you feel like you're being productive, you feel like you're moving towards a goal. But once that goal becomes part of who you are, so you've transcended the purpose into the self, I think that's where life ends up being really, really cool. And you end up having fun. Even though things are hard, you end up having fun. You don't rely on discipline anymore. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You just do you. And I think we're all trying to get to that place. And when we get to that place, it's all about maximizing it, like as much of our lives towards that as we can. Um, so that's kind of how I see this podcast, is just like trying to get past, like, yeah, we want to find our purpose, and we want to have our community, and we want to have our relationships, and we want to have our work and all of these things. But it's about finding yourself along the way and then aligning everything up the chain.
Yeah, and I think too that, like, listen, guys, there's things that we don't have the answer to, we don't know. So I think it's cool, like, if people do ask questions, because it's going to get
Yeah.
us thinking in ways about things that we haven't necessarily thought about, or maybe we don't know the answer to, and we're just trying to chat with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think that for us is growth.
Totally.
Because we're like trying to real time process a question or a thought, see where it takes our brains, and learning from each other, learning from you guys. And I think once again, that's what's going to help us transcend, from where we're at to that next level. So yeah, I'm interested, guys. Shoot us a DM, whatever, any way you can get in contact with us, and we'll start riffing with you. But if you liked it, please share the podcast on social media, give us a review, or just comment on the YouTube channel. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, dude. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother. Keep crushing, my man.
Thanks. You too. We'll talk to you next week.
Peace.